What's up, Star Wars fans? John here, and we're back with another Star Wars conversation. So today's topic is about what would Star Wars be like without Disney? This talk is in no way bashing Disney Star Wars or the people who like it. This is a conversation, not some war zone where people are attacking and insulting each other for hating or loving Disney Star Wars. Since 2012, Disney purchased Lucasfilm for closer to $4.5 billion, and it has been in charge of many Star Wars projects such as the sequel trilogy, prequel movies like Rogue One and Solo, and TV shows like The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ahsoka, Andor, The Acolyte, Rebels, and The Bad Batch. The topic is talked about very often since the release of the sequel trilogy and the expanded universe considered non-canon and rebranded as Legends in favor of a new canon by Disney. Some people love the Disney canon, others hate it to the core. Now, many believed that Disney has ruined Star Wars when the expanded universe was considered non-canon and rebranded as Star Wars Legends. They also believe that Disney ruined the franchise with the sequel trilogy, starting with Star Wars Episode 7 The Force Awakens, which premiered in December 2015. When Disney purchased Star Wars, there were many concerns about what this acquisition would mean for Star Wars movies and TV shows. There have been mixed reception for the projects created by Disney Star Wars. There have been new movies, TV shows, comic books, and video games since Disney's acquisition of the franchise. Some Star Wars video games under Disney I have enjoyed, such as Battlefront 2 and its DLC Resurrection, Squadrons, Jedi Fallen Order, and Jedi Survivor. As for the movies, I enjoyed The Force Awakens, Rogue One, Solo, and The Last Jedi to an extent. And when it comes to TV shows, I enjoyed Rebels, The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Andor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Ahsoka. Finally, with the comics, I enjoyed stories such as Shattered Empire, Captain Phasma, The High Republic, Poe Dameron, etc. But seriously, what would it have been like if Disney never owned Star Wars? To those who hate Disney Star Wars to the core with every fiber of their being, I know what your answer is going to be. It would have been so much better that they never owned it, because that way it wouldn't be ruined by J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson, and that there will be no wokeness and no Mary Sue characters like Rey, and Star Wars would not be focusing on the message. And by the message, I mean like this one-sided political leftist message that they always say. Now, my answer to that question of what it would have been like if Disney never owned Star Wars is this. Some stories from the expanded universe could have been potentially great films and box office hits, like Shadows of the Empire, and also the story of Jason and Jaina Solo, how Jason went to the dark side and Jaina was forced to fight him, and also the Yuzong Van War. Great stories that could have been potentially great hits as either movies or TV shows. We would have also had a third Force Unleashed game, Star Wars 1313 video game, and also the Darth Maul video game, which could have been potential great sellers. I'm still plenty pissed off at Disney for the cancellation of these titles, which it could have been a huge success. Now, The Force Unleashed 2 is a cliffhanger, and both the Darth Maul video game and 1313 will never see the light of day, and for that I say, damn you Disney, stupid laughing mouse.
Oh boy! Everyone is always accusing me of ruining Star Wars since I have bought it in 2012! Haha.
Yet at the same time, these popular shows like The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Andor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Book of Boba Fett, Rebels, and The Bad Batch, which were great cartoons, would have never existed. Rebels was a great cartoon taking place after the Clone Wars. I still haven't seen The Acolyte, mainly because of being too busy with other things and some personal stuff going on in my life, you know. And by the way, all these other shows I mentioned, I love them too. Oh, and speaking of the Clone Wars, when Disney bought Star Wars, the show was cancelled, which caused a massive outrage in the fandom. Yet the show was renewed and had a satisfying conclusion in 2019. At least its conclusion was not bad, like the final season of Game of Thrones. And I enjoyed also Jedi Fallen Order, Squadrons, Battlefront 2, and The Old Republic. The latter I forgot to mention earlier. Because in the end, even if I am plenty mad at Disney for the cancellation of the games I mentioned since their acquisition of Star Wars, I still like many of their shows, comics, games, and movies. I will not deny that I'm looking forward to the movie about Rey's Jedi Order. I will look for myself and decide whether the movie is good or bad. In the end, go see it and make your own judgment later. And don't make blind assumptions about it before watching it. It's a total dick move. Now, even if the expanded universe was never considered canon, it's still canon to me because of their awesome comics, novels, video games, and other projects as well, since they have very well written stories and characters. But in the end, you can love both Disney and the expanded universe stories without resorting to toxicity and hatred. We all love Star Wars at the end of the day. We can talk about why we love Disney or the expanded universe more than whichever without being so toxic and idiotic about it. Now, regarding this question of Disney never owning Star Wars, if I recall correctly, George Lucas did have plans for a sequel trilogy. This trilogy would have been very different, and I will admit, better than the one we were given. In Lucas's plan, the main villains would have been Darth Maul as a Sith Master and Darth Talon as the Sith Apprentice, which many Star Wars fans lament that it never came to pass. Leia would have been the central hero of the trilogy instead of Rey, and Luke would have reestablished the Jedi Order. Yet it is unclear whether George Lucas' sequel trilogy would have ever really been created. Still, even if Disney never purchased Star Wars, this trilogy Lucas had planned would have never existed either. We could have also had gotten the Bad Batch, but not Rebels. What's interesting though is that the Bad Batch was in the works before Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney, which means that the show would likely have existed either way. So in my honest opinion, even if Disney never purchased Star Wars, many of its projects would never come to light. Yet I enjoyed some of Disney's Star Wars movies, comics, video games, and TV shows. Even if I love the expanded universe stories more than Disney, even if it was never considered canon, I like many of Disney Star Wars stories. So to finally wrap this up, Disney has good projects of Star Wars. Yes, it has its flaws, but that doesn't mean that it's all bad and so full of woke propaganda, which I am sick of hearing. So in the end, if you don't like Disney Star Wars, fine, but don't be so toxic about it. You can love both Disney and expanded universe as I said, but don't be so small and egocentric about it. And that's all I have to say. Comment, like, and subscribe. This is John of Video Games and the World. May the Force be with you.